Welcome back. The weekend witnessed another bloody encounter between the Nigerian military and Boko Haram militants. The strategic town of Goza in Borno State was again the theater of war. But Nigerian troops on Friday repelled the Boko Haram attackers, and their dream of recapturing Goza was botched. At the end of the day, 7 terrorists were killed by Nigerian soldiers. The encounter lasted for over 2 hours. Goza local government area has been referred to as a notorious hideout for Boko Haram insurgents, and the area has suffered considerable violence since 2009. Also, during the week, on Monday, Boko Haram attacked a school in northern Nigeria, killing about 48 students. Joining me now to look at the fresh attacks by the insurgents during the week is retired Army Colonel Hassan Stanlabo. I want to thank you so much indeed for joining us on the news at 10.
I'm honored.
Colonel, another attempt by the insurgents to take over Goza barely 2 weeks to the deadline given by the government to defeat Boko Haram. What's happening? What's going on?
Nothing is happening. I'm so impressed that we're all witnesses to the fact that it was immediately repelled, okay, by the Nigerian army. You would expect such coming in from a drowning team of, from a drowning belligerent force, okay, at this time. And more so, when you look at the spirit of the Chief of Army Staff himself, the spirit with which he has, all along visited on his task, you would be convinced that he is a man who is out to ensure that the deadline given to him by the Commander-in-Chief is realized. And I think it's realizable.
So
yes.
as a retired Army officer, you believe that this is going to happen despite the pockets of violence that we've seen?
Yes, of course. The determination I see emanating from the fighting elements, that is own troops anyway, in the forward area, gives me that hope that, look, we can achieve this. It is doable. And the spirit behind it all, and more so that a lot of issues that had, all along constituted some initial problems at the beginning of this battle have been addressed. Welfare problems and so on. And whatever is left, I think could be taken care of. I think morale is high in the forward lines now. Troops, to an extent, are impressed with the sort of leadership they are seeing and which they have. And I think we can surmount this challenge.
Yes. Colonel, another 48 students killed in fresh attacks in northern Nigeria last week. Students we're talking about here. This happened despite efforts made by the multinational joint task force. Is there a need for the military to do something different, have a different approach?
All I expect us to do, first and foremost, is to ensure that our resolve is strengthened. We shall have to strengthen our resolve to crush off this, okay? Having said that, all the military is doing right now, to me, is in place. Once in a while, we shall see things like this coming on, okay? But like it is, once we remain resolved, and all that should be moving forward to support the fight in terms of logistics support are moving unhindered. Air elements are doing the good job they should be doing in support of the ground forces, with the synergy between the land forces and the air element being in very good, being very tight, so to speak. I don't see us not meeting our target before the deadline. However, it is important that we begin to address certain things, and by this I mean we're putting in place certain preventive terrorism initiatives, okay? And by these I mean, for instance, that we must begin to contemplate seriously by now and put in place all measures that we require within cities. We have had some results, or yes, security reports coming out of some of the bombings we've had in public places. We should work on those reports and begin to put some of those things in place. Do we have counter-terrorist liaison officers in all our divisional police offices by now? Are they linking up with sectors of the economy? For instance, those officers on such desks should be tying up properly with security officers in the leisure sector, educational sector for schools, religious sectors for churches and mosques, and so on. When they begin to evolve this sort of synergy, they are able to assist all these various sectors in ensuring that they put all their measures in place. We should put all these nitty-gritties in place to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Okay? Fine. Besides that, do we now have in place, for instance, first responders in the various motor parks, cinema halls, and so on? First responders, trained first responders, who can take care of situations in case of any eventuality before NEMA comes in, and so on. Do we have such people in places at every motor park in this country? Do we have appropriate urban security strategies for our major cities that are holding the economy of this country? I'm referring to Lagos, Kano, Port Harcourt, and so on. Have the governments in these states come up with such urban security strategies? We could go on and on and on. We should not just be relaxed. We should put all this in place. And then we should also address the issue of citizen participation. There isn't enough citizen participation yet as far as this battle is going on, as far as this fight against insurgency and terrorism has been going on.
So what do you expect to see?
I expect to see a situation where under our citizen participation regime, I expect to see a situation where the ordinary citizen is made to take ownership of his security, of his neighbor's security, of his community's security, and by extension, the nation's security. All right? This can only be achieved if an organization or agency like NOA is not sleeping. NOA is supposed to sensitize the entire nation, mobilize and galvanize support for the military effort. Okay? But NOA does not seem to really understand what its role is within the ambit of propaganda.
Let's talk about
Okay?
Let's talk about the president's recent comments based on the attacks in France, which is also a terrorist attack.
Yes.
About 120-something people were killed in that attack. Mr. President has given out his condolences. Could this have any ripple effect across the world now that we're seeing this level of terrorism going on?
ISIS is trying to, as far as I'm concerned, they're about the lead organization now in this terrorism thing that we're going on, that's been going on for quite some while. At the global level, ISIS seem to have taken the lead. And they are, as much as possible, trying to make sure that they stamp their feet in nearly every part of the world. Okay? Taking along even smaller organizations like Boko Haram and so on. All right? All these calls for global efforts. There must be a joint and united effort globally. I am happy to note that, a lot of countries have ceased to see terrorism as belonging to some others. It is a global issue. It is my turn today. It could be your turn tomorrow. You see the way they are stamping their feet all over, trying to prove to the entire international community that no place is outside our reach.
So what do you suppose you and I, people walking the streets, should be doing now?
Well, and that brings me back to NOA. If NOA is able to sensitize Nigerians very well, Nigerians will become highly conscious security-wise. We are not conscious security-wise. If we are conscious security-wise, the dictum that says, see something, say something, by now, should be part of us. Okay? By now, that should be part of us. How much of reporting are we doing to the security agencies? That is to say, how much of intelligence are we contributing to the ongoing offensive action against insurgency and terrorism. Are we really playing our role, or we are still having this feeling that it is their thing? It is the thing of the military. Every citizen must be involved. And I wish some state governments would come out the way I want them to come out. And how do I want them to come out? I still feel a bit disturbed when I see the security guards in most houses, in most estates. Some are still foreigners. Some are still elements you cannot vouch for. And yet they are your security guards. Then something is wrong with you at this time.
I'm afraid that we're going to have to leave it at that. I want to thank you so much indeed, retired Army Colonel Hassan Stanlabo, for talking to us on the news at 10.
I appreciate it, Governor. Thank you.
Moving on to other stories now. Cleanliness, they say, is next to godliness. And with this in mind, staff of Sterling Bank PLC stepped out for a sanitation exercise at the Ajuoye market. The staff of the bank came out with their brooms, rakes, and indeed their shovels. And for them, it was fun.
It's another corporate social responsibility day for Sterling Bank. And here, they're getting ready to impact the society through environmental sanitation just like they always do. The bank staff have all ditched their prim and proper suits and ties to pick up cleaning instruments. This time, they are focusing on cleaning up the Ojuwe market and environs in Mushin area of Lagos State, southwest Nigeria. The task is daunting, but these ones are resolute, and with the brushes sweeping and the rakes collecting, they clear up litters, junks, and even already decaying rubbish as residents look with disbelief and gratitude in their eyes at the same time.
I think our view is that whatever you see that is not right, get up and do something about it. And I think cleanliness is something that we have been behind for years and will continue all over the country. We are supporting all the governments trying to clean their environment. And we also come in to join the people as well to remind them that, look, it is everybody's job. Cleanliness is not to be left for the cleaners alone. Everybody needs to wake up and join in the cleaning.
Sterling Bank came along with one of its partners, the Guns football team, to join in this laudable exercise.
Activities like this have actually helped us over time to actually bring the team together as a unit and actually prepare us for tournaments we play in.
The traders appear to have learnt a salient lesson from the exercise.
I know that is good. You are impressed our woman market that we know that we're supposed to keep our environment clean.
After packing all the dirt in clean heaps, ready to be carted away for proper disposal, they complete the full circle to lay down their work tools, tired but with a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. And to encourage the maintenance of a clean environment, they freely donated the cleaning tools to the leaders of the Ojuwe market.
Nigerians are reported to consume about 6 million tons of rice annually. Over 50% of this amount is reported costing the country about $2.4 billion over the last 3 years. However, several communities where this commodity is cultivated locally could be encouraged to increase domestic production, with some more support from state and federal authorities. In our community report tonight, our correspondent Chris Elms visits Ebonyi State, reputed, of course, for the cultivation of Abakaliki rice. He tells us more.
Now you're talking. One reason Abakaliki remained on the lips of Nigerians for a long time, it's its dominance in rice production. In no distance past, the Abakaliki brand of rice graced our dining tables, but with the influx of foreign brands, local production took a nosedive and has yet to recover. Rice is grown in most parts of the state, but the Iko people, one of the 3 prominent clans in Abakaliki, are believed to be in the forefront of its cultivation.
The major attraction or the major handwork of these people is farming and rice farming. Because they're the highest producer of rice in Ebonyi, and they have over the years, if you want to have an Ebonyi rice, what we call Ebonyi rice with its attraction, its aroma, you get it from Ikwo.
The Ikwos, who are one of the descendants of Ekumeyi, believed to have hailed from Afikpo, are found in Ebonyi Central Senatorial District, and the swampy nature of their land gives them an edge in rice cultivation. Rice production appears to be done predominantly at the subsistence level, and individuals make a choice of what stage they decide to key into production chain: nursery, planting, parboiling, milling or trading. Pascal is a geologist born into the family of farmers. He says the original Abakaliki rice has better taste but lesser yields.
The truth is, I think it still has to do with the soil type or the geology of the environment. The environment and the soil of the Abakaliki still gives rise to the taste of the rice that actually you define as Abakaliki rice.
On why Abakaliki rice seems to have disappeared from our table, he has this to say.
Initially, Abakaliki was a rural area, but today is an urban area. So there is a population growth. People are coming all the way from, even factories, industry are coming. And because of that, the population growth is far different from what we had then.
Transplanting ensures better yield, and that is largely employed today, unlike in the past when rice seeds were planted.
It's just the seedlings that we planted. Sometimes they used to cast seed rice and leave it like that to grow, but it's never very much good. It can grow, germinate, and will be harvested, but you don't get as much good seeds as you get from those ones you transplanted.
Another very important stage in the rice business here is the parboiling. Kingsley Ogenye, who is a rice trader, is busy working within a given time frame to ensure the process is properly followed. Otherwise, one could come out with very poor quality product, which could also affect turnover. The job may look tedious, but the farmers say they enjoy what they do.
Anyway, it's very, very good to me, because for quite a number of years I've been into the system now. And it's something is taking care of my children, at least.
If you do something and you don't enjoy it, you quit. But as you can see, I didn't quit. So that tells you or informs you that I enjoy what I'm doing.
With over 1 billion naira allegedly spent on rice importation daily, Abakaliki community, if all things are done properly, can become one of the leading economies in the country. Chris Illems, Channels Television News.
Etisalat, now you're talking.
More stories now. British artist Polly Alakija has become renowned for painting anything and indeed everything that moves. Now she showcases her many other talents at an exhibition in Lagos State, southwest of Nigeria. Art Review tonight spotlights a woman telling stories with painting.
She's dazzled with a keke napep, ferry, lorry, and Molue, just to mention a few.
When we look at her work on Molues, when we look at her work on all kinds of modes of transport, what comes across is an artist who is deeply sensitive to our history.
Now, Polly Alakija is back with something new.
And what I'm doing is painting objects and telling stories by painting an object. And then I reproduce the imagery as a print. So it's the objects I'm choosing tend to be very ordinary objects, nothing very extraordinary, and I hope I'm turning them into something a little bit out of the ordinary. And through that, getting attention, engaging people, and therefore getting a message across. It's not complex art. I'm hoping it's a form of expression that reaches out to a really wide audience, and I certainly find when I'm painting these images on location I get reactions from all sorts of people. People just happen to be passing on the street, to art critics, art lovers. So it's a form that seems to be getting a lot of attention.
What makes her work unique are the words she adds to the canvas.
And her deep knowledge about Nigeria, about our history, from north to south, from east to west. You see her work that is multifaceted, that touches on narratives, that touches on songs, that touches on fables, that touches on proverbs. And then she creates these incredibly monolithic, huge people and puts them on these various objects, photographs them, and then embellishes them. So the work is something that you actually need to take time to get all the meaning.
The texts initially were literally used as almost wallpaper behind the images, because I realised the images otherwise were just too stark, and words seemed to work. So initially I used text that meant something to me personally, so the link might be a bit tenuous and abstruse, but it meant something to me. And gradually I'm using text that are more and more relevant to the imagery. Or what I've started to do more and more as well is work with writers and a couple of times with poets who have given me words that I can use in the background.
From painting to pictures, Polly Alakija is certainly a curious mind, as no one knows her next adventure.
Well, still ahead on the news at 10, home-based Eagles have been drawn in Group C ahead of next year's African Nations Championship to be hosted in Rwanda. That's in sports news. Stay with us.